This is about citizen agency and the power of citizens in getting things done. We're joined by Happy Olal. He's the national convener for the Social Justice Center's working group. Happy, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
You look happy.
How many times do you get asked that question?
Are you happy?
Yeah. Are you your name?
Yeah. How happy are you today? Karibu sana, Happy. So tell us about the social justice centers. What is a social justice center?
Yeah, social justice centers are community-owned, community-based, community-led organizations that advocate for social justice and human rights at the community level. We started social justice centers because we discovered that mostly in our slums and informal settlements, we have a lot of violations that are happening, but the agencies that are available to help the citizens are a bit far from where the citizens are. So we decided to start centers in the localities where we stay, in mostly informal settlements, slums, and rural villages. And one thing that when we were starting, we had a big issue with extrajudicial killings. Like I've grown in Dandora. At some point, we used to lose up to between 15 and 20 young people per month.
What? Every month?
Yes.
To what?
To police killings. And around 3 to 5 cases of enforced disappearances where someone is arrested, never to be seen again, or you'll be found in a river somewhere in Ngong Forest or those manner of places. So we were doing this for ourselves because if you have a young, mostly male, between 15 to around 26, you could, when you get to 40 years, when you guka, because a lot of
you have very few of you who are alive.
Yeah. So this is why we decided, no, we can't keep quiet anymore because we live in these communities. And if we don't fight, we will still be killed. So you'd rather try to do something. And we've managed to especially manage situations in Dandora and Kariobangi. There's a reduction of extrajudicial killings. In Dandora, I can say the reduction is like 70% than when we started. There's still killings, but not as big as it was. Yeah.
And what did you do? What would you say happened? What took place specifically? Whether it was over time or, immediately, that would have seen a reduction in something like this, because it's complaining about a situation and then maybe nothing is done about it and saying, okay, now we must take action. So what are those action points that were taken to then see the reduction of extrajudicial killings over time?
It was a lot of work where we bring in agencies. We brought in agencies such as IPOA, Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, organizations such as Independent Medical Legal Unit. So we started, first we started putting names into figures. You could come and say 15 people have been killed. We started putting faces into figures and say, not 15, this is Maina, this is Sonyango, they have families. And out of that, we also we started documenting these cases where you just, simple documentation, this Happy Olal killed on this day by this officer, and putting them out there so that people can see that there's a tragedy. We started having community conversations, saying that, they used to say that all these people are criminals, and we could say that we have the biggest criminals in our governments. Why are they not being killed? There are people who kill the future of young people. So it was very difficult at the beginning, but when people started talking about it, first you have to talk about it, because it was not easy even to speak about someone killed by police, but we started speaking about it, putting
Publicly.
it out there. Yes. We started having press conferences, having marches, Sabasaba March for Our Lives, where we could just come out and say, stop killing us, stop killing our people. So it was a lot of work with a lot of people, and also started asking for accountability. One death, we follow it through, make sure there is post-mortem, Yeah, so it was difficult, but we are managing well. At least now it's a big discussion, even in the country, about extrajudicial killings.
So look at all the things that you've said so far. There's a problem, it's been identified. Obviously, it is a menace to people in a particular community, maybe even around the country. There has been help that has been sought. Maybe that help has not been forthcoming and has been ignored, right?
Yeah.
There is a place whereby the community reaches where they've said, it is too much. We cannot continue like this. And then there's a decision that is taken to say, we will now insist that you do your job, accountability.
Yes.
We will insist that one life lost is one life too many.
Yeah.
And the justice that can be done, not in terms of bringing this person back, but is to making sure that everything that you ought to do to find out what happened has actually been done. The rest we leave to fate. But have you done your job? And you find that if you keep that conversation current, and if you keep insisting on this particular thing without letting down, like you said, we will insist. This person with a name, with a face, was killed. We will insist that the due diligence is done. You will do your investigation. You will take your fiduciary responsibility to make sure that something is done till we get a result. And you don't get tired till you get the result. This is how we've gone through this.
Yes.
Without getting tired.
Yes.
Do you think that same formula can be lifted and then applied to other things in this country?
Yes, and last week we were in a protest on the finance bill. It's not that it is already being done, where we are, and it's very sad that we were tear gassed. Yet we had notified the police that we'll be doing this. It's like now the police, they have never understood the word notify. It is like it's seeking permission to, yet the constitution is clear. So we've started doing this, and we did a march. Young men came out to protest against the finance bill, because we've discussed this in our community and various communities, and we found out that this bill is going to make life very difficult for Kenyans. So already we are coming out, not under any political banner, because it says every Kenyan has a right. So we are also planning another one tomorrow. I know they will still come for us. I want also to urge the police to read the constitution and understand. The OCS Central just said the other day, we were in his office, said, I have orders from above, you will not do that protest. And we told him we will hold you accountable, because the law allows me just to notify you. We did that on Thursday. But you cannot just come plainly and say you will not do it. Where is the constitution? Where is our law? So in terms of whatever is happening around the country, we are also following up. We have a campaign called Njaa Revolution, because people are angry. Nowadays, people eat one major meal, which most of the time is dinner. And the rest are just like bites. And you cannot keep quiet, and the country is not doing well. So it's something that we are still doing at all levels, at national
community level and at national level.
Yes.
But then, and this is where the other question comes in for me, how do you distinguish social justice centers from CBOs and civil society organizations? Because others we see looking like a civil society organization with a regional or a national focus. But you told us that social justice centers are community-based.
Yes.
They are localized. So how do you create that distinction between that localized one and then taking over a national agenda?
The difference is that For us, you do your activism first where you stay, because it's about building your, we call it dignity, where it doesn't matter where you are born or where you are at the moment. That place, you are supposed to live in dignity. So most of the time, Kenyans or people wait for others to come and fight for them. You are the one who stays in that community. You know the challenges, you know the solutions. Why shouldn't you be the first person to take action? Maybe a sewer burst in your community. First, speak about it. Hold people accountable. We need every community to be dignified, and we need safe spaces. We fight gender-based violence. When you have a rapist in your community, it might rape your neighbor's daughter, but tomorrow it will be your daughter. So why should we have such people in your community? So social justice center is different because, one, it is where you stay, where you are at the moment. Two, other organizations will find that for you to work for them, you need papers, degrees. As you just need yourself, the passion that I want to do something for my community. So we will not, there is no criteria that, no, you need these papers. But just avail yourself the spirit for volunteership and do something for your community. And that is the uniqueness. Ile ya ground kabisa.
Yes. In your ground.
Yes.
Organizing is never easy.
Yes.
All right? Because there's organizing, you can say, because all of us are in the same neighborhood. I mean, you just come out of your house and we meet and we raise an issue and we go back home. But it cannot be easy. You require some sort of structure and leadership.
Yes.
How does a social justice center then structure itself in terms of leadership? Is there like a best practice for leadership, that there will be a convener, a chairman, secretary, an organizing secretary, a treasurer when money comes in? What's the structure like?
Yeah, the structure is just like you've indicated. First, it is through the democratic elections, where you need people to allow you to lead. It's through an election, and then every social justice center has a leadership structure, but there's where we meet now as various social justice centers. We have every center sends 2 representatives to the working group. That is where we have another layer of elections. Nairobi is a working group, is a chapter. We have a coastal chapter, we have the western chapter, then we have a national leadership. So at every level, there's elections. At every level, we have a leadership, a very clear but simple leadership structure. There's a convener, we don't have a chair. The chairpersons, especially chairmen, have been disaster in this country. Yeah, so as we work with either a coordinator or a convener. But it's a simple election just to give you some responsibility, because every organization must have some form of leadership where the buck stops.
Yeah. And how is it funded?
First, through community resources. You'll find that as I'll give an example of Dandora Justice Center, where I come from. We are based at the county space. County hold these spaces on behalf of wananchi. Yeah. So we have a space at the county. That's where we have our office. We got a partner who wanted to help us with some rent, but we had a discussion. Instead of giving us money for 2 years, can we have a container? So we have a container office, and we seek funds from our partners for different campaigns. Like we have gender-based violence campaign on right to life. That is the one on police killings. We have issues campaigns on things like land, and now every community has its own specific campaigns which are unique to that area. Like Dandora, there is the dam site, so we have a campaign on an environmental pillar campaign. Yeah, so that's how we work. So we seek funds, we get support from communities. Yeah.
What's the response like from the community? Let's take the Dandora one. Okay, when you started, Did other members of the community see this is just those vijanas who are criminals in this area organizing, so that now they can start fighting the police in an organized manner? Or did they see what you were saying?
When we started, it was difficult because first on the campaign that we touched on, we used to have a community where some issues were never spoken about. We used to have a community where you are suspected of being a criminal. You are posted on a Facebook page, SC, or Nairobi Crime Free. Then 2 days or a week later, you are killed. Then they post you again. This is the guy we told you about. Now we've dealt with him. And people said, very good job, Hongera. And we wanted to stop all this, so it was not easy. Our first community dialogue against police killings was chaotic. We are fighting crime, you are promoting crime. But now, when it came clear that not everyone who's being shot is a criminal.
Yeah.
You know the story of Carlington Maina from Kibra. We had now faces of people where the community started asking questions, but we know Eric is a journalist. How comes you say he's a criminal, you see? And now the narrative started changing. The last time we had extrajudicial killing in Dandora, it is the community that invited us to a protest. It is not, it's the other way around, where we used to say, this guy has been killed, we cannot remain silent anymore, let's come up. And it is the community that now comes and say, this is not right, we are doing a protest tomorrow, come and join us. And this has been our work, which we've done with a lot of threats, because when you are dealing with the police, definitely, you put your life on the line. A lot of threats. We lost Comrade Karo Mwada 5 years ago. It's not been easy. But the spirit to fight for justice, the spirit, when you see your children there in that community, you say, I cannot allow my children to suffer the way we suffered. Can we try and make the community better?
Must this engagement be antagonistic with the authorities? Are you constantly appearing like you're fighting, or you're, pushing the authorities hard? If it's the police, do you have areas where you basically have some collaboration, where you're working together with the police, or are you always raising issues that the police have done?
Yeah, two things. One, Wangari Maathai said, human rights are not things that are given. Human rights are things that you fight for. When necessary, we've had discussions. We've sat down with the government and told them, this is not right. What can we do together? We work closely with government agencies like IPOA, Kenyan National Commission on Human Rights. These are government agencies. Witness protection. But once we are members of the Police Reforms Working Group that now brings the government together with the civil society actors to have a discussion on how the police can reform from a force to a service. Although now working with the government sometimes is a bit difficult because they are very good at promising. But when you go back to the community, the OCS is still the same. He doesn't even know that you met the government and spoke about police reforms. So you'll find that the reforms are being done at this level, at the police station level, nothing. They say they only changed the uniform. They are still the same old police officers.
Police in Yule.
So this is a constant struggle. When it needs us to be antagonistic, we will be antagonistic. When it needs us to network and sit down and have a discussion, so long as the discussions bear fruits, we cannot be sitting there every day, then tomorrow you are tear gassing us in the streets, then the other day you are calling us again. That has been the challenge.
Let's take a break at 29 minutes to 9. Happy Olal is the national convener of the Social Justice Center's working group. We are talking about the power of citizen agency this morning. The social justice centers are community-based, like Happy is telling us, community-based, community-led, community-organized organizations that basically raise issues of what's happening in the community with the relevant authorities with a view to getting solutions, not just raising issues and leaving them hanging. Conversation continues shortly.
Spice.
Situation room. The conversation continues with Happy Olal, national convener of the Social Justice Center's working group. You organized last week's Sita Sita demos.
Yes.
That was actually organized by the Social Justice Centers.
Yes.
And you're organizing another one again this week.
Yes.
You know, when we were having that conversation last week on the show, we talked about how we normally see citizens rising up against an issue at their local level, at the community. If they are unhappy about a hospital and how a hospital is being managed, you'll see people going to that hospital and raising that issue. If it's about a school, you will see people actually going and saying, this school, the headmistress, the headmaster, or the school board, we need to change the board of management, there's something wrong. If it's about a road, you'll see people rising up. If it's about a spate of insecurity, people will come out. But then beyond that community level, when it starts becoming a national level, then you see less and less people engaging. What's been your experience just using this particular demo on the finance bill? If you look at how you engage people at community level, come out guys, let's raise this issue about something, and then you tell them now let's go to CBD and demonstrate about the finance bill. Is it the same kind of response that you get?
No, it's not. I think most of the time Kenyans think that issues of national issues are left to mostly the politicians. And so what we've been trying to do is to remind Kenyans that Article 1 of the Constitution indicates that all sovereign powers belong to you. Article 3 of the Constitution says that every Kenyan has a responsibility to protect and defend the Constitution.
Responsibility.
Yes. So Article 3 makes every Kenyan a human rights defender or an active, we call them active citizens. And then now, I think the issues of national, most of the time, were left to either the parliament or our national leaders. But now the shoe is pinching. Now people are starting to come out. And I think it's a good thing that we have a government that doesn't care. So by the end of 5 years, we'll have
That's a good thing.
Yes. We'll have a lot of Kenyans in the street, just like during Moi's time, because some of the things that are being done were last done during Moi's time.
What would that situation then guarantee? What would a situation whereby people are up in arms and saying, you know what, this is ridiculous, we're at the wall. What would be the resultant action, in your opinion, of people coming out and saying, look, this is enough? Sadly, because I'm saying this 10 months, just 10 months after the election of the current government, the result will be like in 2002 when people said, Yota Yowezekana bila Moi, when people are enough is enough. Because personally, I don't understand all the promises that the government gave, especially to young people, to watu wa kawaida, mama mboga, boda boda. And now, how things have changed drastically. I was in the supermarket yesterday and I could not believe that 2 kg of sugar is 415 shillings. Yeah.
415.
The experience will put some hair on your chest. It's not
230 unga. I bought it at 230. Yet the government say unga ni 150. Like machongumu tu. You know there are some things you can lie, but you cannot lie on things like food. You see. So these are things that will bring people out. issues of school fees. How many people, then you are bringing in more taxes on already watu wamefinyiliwa. Imagine now it's 415 2 kg of sugar minus the VAT is 8%.
Yeah.
By next month, if the bill passes, it will be around 450.
Easily.
Yes. Unga will be how much? 250, 260.
There is a realization that, and from what you've seen, and I mean, I really do believe that we don't use our capital as citizens enough. I know that I believe right now in Kenya there is an awakening. I believe that there is a rising towards that responsibility. I don't feel that it has been we've not really started to drive it. Do you think it is because there is not an understanding of just how powerful the citizen really is? Not an understanding of what you need or I think that's clear. But how powerful you actually are when you're demanding accountability from those who've been put in a position of leadership. Do you think that Kenyans realize just how powerful they are to demand this?
That has not been fully exploited in that Kenyans can make very good online noise and they will be heard. And, there's a way governments operate where they rather have you whine online and have these hashtags. They'll only last for a day. And that's what I ask is, why is it different when I go to whine in the streets? Why is the government so jittery?
Because they can see you.
No, it's
online, they can't
more
see
than
you,
that.
really. Yeah.
The streets have brought governments down. Across the continent, governments have gone down because of the streets. So there's a way government doesn't like people who mobilize. They'd rather mobilize online and have these online conversations. But online must be accompanied by offline. You make online noise and you get out and say this is not right. It is a language that the government listens easily and they don't like it. So the citizen agency, there's a lot that needs to be done, in that even in your capacity where you work or where you are, you can do something. You can either support someone who is doing something or you can be that person. The other issue, the issue of fighting for rights, most of the time, there's a narrative that goes around. So when you see Olal, they'll come and say, those are donor-funded people.
Civil society.
Do you need donor funding to ask why bei ya unga iko juu? So there's also this narrative that the government likes it. They call you evil society, donor-funded. Yet they are the ones who depend on donors. When you see Ruto shaking president hands with a big smile when they get money for support. But there's that narrative. So people think that if you work in this, for you to be an active citizen, you have to be paid by someone else. As we are telling people that this is about your country, this is about the future of your kids and your grandkids, you have to be at the first, you have to make the first step. So it has not been fully exploited, but through various organizing, I think we are slowly moving towards that direction.
There's something that you said, and you brought in the angle of the Constitution, and you talked about Article 1 and Article 3. I'm going to read Article 1, which is about the sovereignty of the people, where it says, all sovereign power belongs to the people of Kenya and shall be exercised only in accordance with this Constitution. And then it now starts to delegate those powers. The people may exercise their sovereign power either directly or through their democratically elected representatives. Also, sovereign power under the Constitution is delegated to state organs which shall perform their functions in accordance with the Constitution. What are those state organs? Number 1, Parliament and the legislative assemblies in county. Number 2, the national executive and the county executives. And number 3, the judiciary and independent tribunals. Okay? So we've already created those structures where we say our power can be exercised in a delegated authority through these institutions, but number one is the elected representatives, and then we ourselves. And then there's Article 3, which talks about defense of the Constitution. Every person has an obligation to respect, uphold, and defend this Constitution.
Yeah.
Now, I think that one on the obligation and the responsibility is a big one.
Yes.
Because for you to take up that responsibility and obligation to defend the Constitution, you, number one, need knowledge. Do the people of Kenya, from your interaction at community level, at various levels as a convener of the social justice centers, do the people of Kenya understand? Do they have proper civic awareness of the responsibility to defend the Constitution? Do they have proper political awareness?
Yeah, I think in terms of awareness, the level is not very much low. Every Kenyan will tell you, I know my rights. They're very good at that.
Yes.
Yeah, I know my rights.
This is Kenya.
Yes. So in terms of knowing your right, people know the Constitution a bit, especially where it touches them. Yeah. People know the Constitution. The only aspect is the political angle. That is where we get it all wrong. Where people forget that when you are employing your house manager, you do a lot of due diligence. Where did you come from? Where is your home? A lot of things, put into consideration.
And you're constantly watching them.
Yes. But when it comes to employing the presidency and MP, I don't know what happens. Now we start asking, Eric, which tribe does he come from? That is something that we've never understood. That when it comes to employing the person who is going to carry your future for the next 10 years, 10 years, now you throw away everything in the wind. Now you say, this is my tribe, this is our party. Instead, could have been the best moment where you sit down and look at this person, look at the track record, look at a lot of things. What has he ever done or she ever done? But that is where now sasa sisi ni Wajaluo, sisi tuko kwa ODM, sisi tuko UDA, sisi ni Wakikuyu, and then 1 month later, the president has been sworn in, the government is in place. Then I say, you told us that we'll have 30% women.
Yes.
50%, 30%, it is not happening. And we start complaining a month later.
Yeah.
And we complain the next 5 years. Then we go back to our tribes.
Yeah.
So in terms of political, that is where there's a lot of work to be done.
There's a disconnect.
Yeah,
I say this and I hold that, just like you've said, that responsibility comes not only in complaining,
yes,
but also in action. In action from that point when you are exercising that civic duty to delegate your powers to an elected leader. At that point, people need to understand exactly what you're doing. By going to the ballot or by even choosing not to go to the ballot, there's something major that you're doing there. You're delegating your authority to somebody.
Yeah.
Then you cannot sit back and always be complaining. You've got to be participating throughout. You've got to be participating in deciding and defining what you want. What do you want in your community? What do you want in terms of levels of security? How do you define security? How do you define food security? How do you define access to health, access to education? You've got to be very clear on that definition so that then your leader understands what exactly you mean. But when you sit back and we always, at this point is when you're coming in the last stages and saying I'm complaining about against high taxation. Against what? So what is it that you want? What do you want instead, right? We don't say the what instead.
Of this, yeah.
Yes, and I have a problem with that. We have an issue. Yes, the cost of unga is high. We want it to come low. So do we have an idea of what could happen for it to come low, to come down? Can we tell our elected representatives to whom we've delegated that power,
What
that this is it we want. Go and do it.
Yes, we know what we want. Like, for example, when you look at the government spending, you have a cabinet secretary, you have a principal secretary. Why do you need a CAS? over 50 of them. That is increasing the wage bill. You see?
Yeah.
The amount of money that currently is the presidency, they have added more money to the presidency because apparently the president needs to travel more and all that.
Just about 11 billion like this will do.
That would be
Imagine 11 billion. What can 11 billion do even in a sector of health?
It can complete the money that's needed for education.
Right now we are saying NHIF haina pesa and every month mnakatwa mshahara inaenda kwa NHIF. Where is that money? So people know that if we can cut down government, we just need people not to reward our friends, but people who can work. We don't need all those CAS. In fact, I really feel bad when I see people now, people like Akina Itumi, sasa on CAS. What is their responsibility? You know, the courts, kuna court order that says they should not even be paid. Are we following those court orders? The issue of taxes. When you look at the amount of money, 30% of every year's budget get lost through corruption. What if we fight corruption? Truly. You know, there's this fighting corruption where you come and arrest people on Friday and say, you know, and then after
5 years,
a few months, the DPP now withdraws all the cases, yet money was stolen. Yeah. What happened? Money was stolen.
That is something that we can say, because I say that we are diagnostic, but we're not prescriptive, right? So that is one way in which we can, because this is the problem, don't do that. But what can we do? And I see that because if we're saying, look, a major hole is corruption. A major hole is corruption. And we're saying, you're telling us not to tax people. Yes, we're saying don't tax people to these levels whereby they cannot function. But here is something that you can do to recover some of that money which is getting lost anyway. Plug the holes in corruption. Be serious about fighting corruption. Use the agencies that you have to make sure that the holes that have been created by corruption to such an endemic level over the years are actually being sealed, and be serious about it. You wouldn't have to look for more money to run the country from people's taxes.
Yes.
So there is a way in which now you prescribe a solution towards something.
And, you know, Kenyans can fight corruption. I remember when Kibaki was elected, Kenyans even used to arrest police officers who are taking bribes, and they could say, "Who you knew corrupt? This is our new government. We don't want corruption." I think that government really messed Kenyans, because at that point, Kenyans were the most optimistic. Kenyans were amongst the happiest in the world. Then the government went back to the old corrupt ways, Anglo leasing and all that. I think ilivunja watu moyo sana. I mean, they felt that, you know, we thought now. So Kibaki messed that, you know, agency. There was that psyche that we can stop corruption, we can fight it. And then Uhuru came, and now Ruto behaves as if he was not in the last government. They say the problem was in the last government, you know. So the lies also, you know, we need to have a discussion about lying in this government. I don't know why we are not talking about it. There's a lot of lying of the last regime and this current regime, you know, and it's not right.
What kind of lying? What do you mean by lying?
In 100 days, do you remember those words?
In 6 months.
In 6 months' time.
6 months' time. It is now 10 months' time. By the end of this year, every Kenyan will have NHIF cover. Do you remember those words?
Yeah.
We'll have.
I saw the other one. Women will have diapers.
Yes.
Children born.
I didn't even remember.
Born in the next 3 months, they will all have diapers.
Yes, and remember the Camarine Stadium and all this.
But I see that's the thing, Happy. That's what I'm saying. We take in the promises without any accountability. We ourselves seem to just forget, or when we remember, we just moving on. Yeah. We were told about Stadia, they never came. We were told about universal health coverage, it never started. Oh, we were told about 500,000 housing units, it never came. We were told about this and the other roads, Mau and each of them, they never happened. Now we are being told about UHC, it'll never happen.
Just another story.
Yeah, it's because for me, there's a clear distinction. There's those in the political class, and it doesn't matter where you want to group them. They are the same lot.
Yes.
You put them in the Azimio, you put them in Kenya Kwanza, they are the same people.
Yeah.
They understand very well that what you want to hear is you want to hear the stories, but you will never follow up. How can citizens then follow up? How can we, all these things that we are saying, that Ruto said, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, answer for those ones?
No, the challenge is that we can only do a report form after 5 years. Yeah, unless now you get tired before 5 years, and that will not be a constitutional mean. But constitutionally, after 5 years is where you get the report card. And I wish Kenyans could, when you want to build a house, first you build it in your mind. You want open kitchen and all these, and then you bring in the expert. That is how we should be electing. And I think after 5 years, in 2027, Kenya will be a bit wiser, Kenyans, because of
this Kenya.
Yeah, they
This one of us.
they will be more wiser.
Why do you say that?
Because political decision affects what you eat.
Yes.
Yeah. So once that gets into our head, we'll start making better decisions. This issue of, there's one thing that happened in the last election. How many Kenyans did not vote?
Many.
Oh, yeah.
Not voting is voting.
Yes.
Why? Especially young people. Because they don't feel anything. They don't feel this politic thing. So how can we, the young people could have voted their president. Those who didn't vote, there were around 8 million people. Ruto got in with, was it?
About 7 point something.
7 point. So the people who did not vote could have voted in their president. The young people who did not vote, plus the other people who will be joining the 18 plus in the next 5 years. I wish we could find a way to channel that energy. Those people can get us a very good government.
They can deliver us
from this evil.
Happy, thank you for joining us today. And yes, let's wait and see. I do not think there'll be any shift in the mindset of Kenyans in the next 5 years, but that's just the skeptic in me. Happy Olal is the national convener of the Social Justice Center's working group. He's been our guest this morning on the conversation that we want to keep having about the power of citizen agency. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.